Each year, fire kills more Americans than all U.S. natural disasters combined. In 2009, residential fires caused approximately 2,600 deaths and more than 13,000 injuries. Children and senior citizens suffer most of these deaths and injuries. Every year, about 100 firefighters die in the line of duty. The Fire Prevention and Safety Grants are an important resource for fire departments and other organizations in reducing the number of fire-related deaths, injuries, and protecting our communities. These grants prioritize funding for projects that focus on children, older adults, and other high-risk population groups. We also fund research and development to improve firefighter safety, a topic to be covered in a future video. Funding for the Fire Prevention and Safety Grants comes from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. What can you do to qualify for grant assistance? I urge you to keep watching. This grant program has 4 different project categories, which have equal priorities for funding. They are general education and awareness, code enforcement and awareness, fire and arson investigation, and national, state, and regional projects. This video will elaborate on each category and its unique priorities. We urge you to take action now. Learn about the grant requirements and funding priorities. This information will help you develop a project plan you can use to apply for a grant. All the information you need to apply for a grant can be found at www.fema.gov/firegrants. You should start planning your fire prevention and safety projects as early as possible. The first step is to identify your community's fire risks. What are the greatest fire risks in your community? Have you done a community risk assessment or analysis to prove what major fire problems exist? To develop an effective project, you will need to document these problems by conducting a risk assessment. You may use either a formal or informal type of assessment. Now it's time to use that information. Using the results of your risk assessment, create 1 or more projects to respond to your community's fire prevention and safety needs. You may submit only 1 application per year to this grant program, but you may request funds for up to 3 separate projects in your 1 grant application. Do your research and find strategies that will best meet your project needs. You can benefit from the experience of organizations that have been successful with projects similar to the ones that you are planning. You don't necessarily have to start from scratch. You can find literally thousands of resources online about successful and effective fire prevention programs. So get inspired. Visit the Prevention and Public Education Exchange at www.lrc.fema.gov/exchange.html. Read carefully the entire Fire Prevention and Safety Grants Guidance and Application Kit. It explains the grant eligibility and evaluation criteria, funding priorities, allowable costs, ineligible projects, and federal rules and regulations. Does your proposed project and the results of your risk assessment match any of the funding priorities? Let's look at the funding priorities in detail. There are 4 categories of projects eligible for grants in fire prevention and safety. Each category has different priorities. In the general education and awareness category, a smoke alarm installation project is the priority. Projects that target high-risk populations and go door to door to install smoke alarms that contain long-life batteries receive priority. Along with alarm installations, home safety inspections should be conducted and information about home sprinklers should be provided to homeowners. Now, all of these elements must be part of the project for it to receive priority. Additional consideration will be given to applicants who incorporate provisions for deaf, hard of hearing alarm installations as part of their comprehensive installation and education effort. In the code enforcement and awareness category, the highest priorities are first-time code adoption and first-time code enforcement projects. Projects that aggressively investigate every fire are the highest priorities for funding in the fire and arson investigation category. National, state, and regional fire prevention and safety programs and studies are also eligible for funding. The highest priority projects in this category focus on residential fire issues, firefighter safety, and changing firefighter behavior and decision-making. To obtain a grant, you must write a narrative statement that provides details about your organization and proposed project. An online tutorial for grant applications will help you build a narrative statement that responds to all of the factors in the evaluation criteria. The tutorial, the list of frequently asked questions, and other resources can be found at www.fema.gov/firegrants. Reviewers will evaluate your narrative statement on how well it talks about your project in terms of the evaluation criteria. Now, it is recommended that you organize your narrative statement to match the order of the evaluation criteria, which includes vulnerability statement, implementation plan, evaluation plan, an explanation of the project's cost benefit, a plan for sustaining the project, and financial need. Be sure that your narrative statement covers all of the factors listed in the evaluation criteria. Peer reviewers will use these evaluation criteria, and only these criteria, to score your narrative statement and application. Your vulnerability statement should give details about who is at risk in your community. How do you know they're at risk? What information did you find in your risk assessment? And what conclusions did you reach? Why is your project important? This is the kind of information you want to provide in your vulnerability statement. In your implementation plan, clearly state what you want to do and how you plan to do it. Give details about the steps you plan to take to reach your project goals. Who will deliver the project and over what time period? If you are requesting funds for materials, describe them, including the quantity needed. Describe how you will measure your project's success in your evaluation plan. What measurable goals will you try to reach? How have similar types of projects been assessed? For cost benefit, explain how much of the grant funds will go directly to delivering the project. Are the costs justified compared to the potential benefits? Are the costs reasonable given the economic issues of your community and target populations? Sustainability. The grants have a one-year period of performance. Does the project have the potential of continuing after the end of the grant year? Will your community or a non-federal funding source be able to provide support? If the project did continue, what will be its long-term benefits? Financial need. Don't skip the details. Be specific about your organization's budget, cutbacks made, major expenses and amounts, income sources and amounts, and local economics. Have you tried to raise money from other sources? And if so, what happened? A technical evaluation panel will evaluate and score the narrative statements of each project in each application. They will make funding recommendations. The highest scoring applications will undergo additional technical review before award decisions are made. After you've completed your application, print it and ensure that you have not skipped any of the questions and have answered them accurately. Does your narrative statement match your answers to the application questions? You'll be surprised at the errors you'll catch just by thoroughly reviewing your application. Finally, don't wait until the last minute to complete your application. Last-minute mistakes are easy to make. Typos in the budget or a missing narrative statement can affect your grant application evaluation and score. We hope you find this video as a helpful introduction. To learn more about applying for a grant, visit our website at www.fema.gov/firegrants or call toll-free 866-274-0960 to speak to someone at the Grant Program Help Desk.